All right, I've relaxed. I've calmed down. We've talked about Chase Young yesterday, and I just got to say something, y'all. I am at the point where I'm not taking no for an answer. And when I mean no, I'm not, I don't want to hear anything about the pass rush. Okay. We're not blaming Aaron Glenn because he doesn't have the personnel. Well, if you're not going to blame him, then you're going to blame Brad Holmes, but you don't want to do that either because you can't blame the greatest general manager that we've had, right? This is the thing, man. And I don't want to sound arrogant or anything like that, but I just refused. I'm not going to give. Brad Holmes will get his credit where his credit is due, but he will also get criticized for when he fails this team. And I've been talking about he has failed at the pass rush position. That's just no ifs, ands, or buts, period, right? So if you're not going to blame Aaron Glenn or Dan Campbell or Brad Holmes, you got to blame personnel. And I got a tweet yesterday saying that the players are young and blah, blah, blah. We're the second youngest team. Okay, that is true. But we also need talent as well. And so this conversation, the Chase Young conversation, turned into the Brodric Martin conversation. And you guys know how I feel about Brodric Martin. Here is my thing. Let's go over this. I put out a tweet yesterday, and I wanted to kind of gauge the Twitterverse. This was the highest poll I think I've ever had voted. There's 3 hours left. Says Brad Holmes sent picks 122, 139, and 169, which are 2 4th-round picks and a 5th-round pick to the Arizona Cardinals, who, by the way, have 13 picks this year, I believe, for number 96, where he chose Broderick Martin. He in turn plays 3 total games for less than 75 snaps. Does Brad Holmes get a pass on Broderick Martin, a top 100 player who made 0 impact? Now, obviously, I was being hyperbolic here. Yes, Brad Holmes doesn't miss, hence the smiley face, and no wasted pick. 67%, which is about 200 people or so, maybe 250. Most of the fan base said, yes, Brad doesn't miss. Now, let me get this straight. The Detroit Lions have 4 top 100 picks this year. And Broderick Martin last year was given up. He was inside of the top 100. The top 100. Let me ask you a question. The top 100 are the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft, right? I want to say 96 is right at the very end of the NFL draft. It depends on how many compensatory picks, because you got 32, that's 64. So 96 would be the very end of the last pick of the 3rd round without compensatory picks, right? So would you say that anybody in the first 1, 2, or 3 rounds should be an immediate impact player more often than not? Now, here is the thing that I think people are missing, or maybe they just refuse to see. You know how something is right in front of your face, right? Or you see something, but you don't want to admit that it's there, because if you admit that it's there, then it'll ruin how you feel about it. So you keep pretending that it's not there when it's right in front of your face, right? Here is my thing. We gave up 2 4th-round picks and a 5th-round pick for a project of a guy. Let me ask you this. If could a 4th-round pick have been a pass rusher? Could both of those 4th-round picks have been a pass rusher? Could that 5th-round pick have been a cornerback? Could we have had a player or 2 or 3 that helped this team in 2023 that our season did not end and we didn't blow a 17-point lead? Here's my issue with Broderick Martin. You trade up to get a guy that is a can't-miss project that you are willing to sacrifice 3 players who could play now, possibly, for a player that is for the future. That's what Broderick Martin was drafted for. I'll say drafted for, because he was so good that we couldn't wait to pick 122. So Broderick Martin would have been gone between 96 and 122. Put in the comment section right now, do you believe that Broderick Martin would have been there at pick 122, 139, and 169? I'm going to say yes. But what I see is a guy who did not help the pass rush this year. We sacrificed that for maybe some players who could have. In addition to that, Brad Holmes made zero effort in the offseason to fortify this defensive line. Zero effort. There was not a single soul brought in on the defensive line in the 2023 offseason. And if you look at his work, his body of work, it does not bode well on the defensive line, which everyone can see that is our point of weakness this season. So this conversation is simply this. Was Brodric Martin a wasted pick? This for me, and I'm going to say yes, he was, because we gave up draft capital to get him. He was a waste in 2023. If you're going to take a player in the top 100, you would assume that he is going to be an impact player for your team. Now, I'm going to do, when I say impact, a player who's on the field at least. Impact would be, okay, you hear his name. I mean, iffy, third-round pick. Kirby Joseph is the prime example of a player that was taken in the third round who immediately made an impact in his rookie season. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I usually have this pulled up, and I'm going to, on the fly, because I want to see this. Let's go. I want to see how many of Brad Holmes' 2023 pick, all of his picks for his entire regime are on the team. They're all on the team. And I think we did this before. They're all on the team for everything he's drafted. Okay, what am I? Draft picks. Okay. Bear with me. Hold on. Okay. All right. I don't have time to do it, and I don't want to be. So the point I'm making is, how many people drafted in the top 100 have impacted the team? That's the question. So you know what? Since I can't do it on the fly, I don't want to drag this video on. You do some research. Look at the top 100 picks. So you're talking about, and if you want to have some fun with it, you could go beyond that. But how many of the top 100 picks have been impactful for the Detroit Lions? I'm going to say Josh Pascal, no. Levi, no. 2 right away, right? So I wanted to compare those picks to how many of Brad Holmes' 2023 draft picks, specifically in the first 3 rounds, have been an impact. Now, as we wrap the video up, people are saying that Broderick was for the future. And I get that. I totally understand that. If you are going to draft, Brodric Martin is the epitome. He is the absolute definition of building through the draft. If you think about a building, you start with the foundation, right? You start with a foundation. You've got the metal beams and all that stuff. Brodric Martin is the absolute definition of building through the draft. You are building a foundational piece who's not going to be an impact right away. Okay. He is the definition of that. Again, my issue is trading up. If Brodric Martin was sitting there at pick 96 and you take him, we would still be having this conversation, but it wouldn't be as bad because you wouldn't have gotten 3 picks for a guy, because nobody in this comment section can tell me that they believe that Brodric Martin would have been gone by pick 169. You cannot say that. And if you do, you are lying. You are defending Brad Holmes to your last breath. I applaud the people that criticize him, because in this community, you cannot say anything bad about Brad Holmes. But I applaud those people. That's why I speak very highly of myself. I know it sounds obnoxious, and maybe it is, but I am not a follower. I'm a follower to some extent, because you have to be. I heard this the other day. It was on Shaq's Big podcast, and T.I. said, to be a great leader, you have to follow in some regard. And I look at myself as more of a leader than a follower, right? But what I'm saying is, I applaud those people, because you will get destroyed if you say anything bad about Brad Holmes because of all this other, where we came from and all that stuff. So here's what I'm saying. Brodric Martin was a waste. He was a wasted pick. I said the same thing about Jeff Okudah. Jeff Okudah did not change. And here's what I want to say. Is it possible that Brodrick Martin could be something in 3 years? The way that I see it, I'm like, this dude could be the next Deron Payne, Quinnen Williams. I mean, the way the Lions came up and got him, like, they must have him. Like, he wouldn't have been there in 20 more picks or 30 more picks. 28 picks later. I'm sorry, 26 picks later. At 122, where Brodrick Martin had been there, ask yourself that question. Ask yourself that question. He could have taken with the first fourth round pick, he could have taken him. That's just what I'm saying. So Brodrick Martin, I wish the best for this kid. I want him to be an absolute man eater. Just, you got to double team and triple team this guy. That would be fantastic. But what I'm saying is in 2023, there's somebody that we could have used. And even if we took Broderick at 169, this is a whole different conversation. Now you're talking about a 5th round pick, and we got 2 4th rounders who might have done something on our team. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Just a little bit of a conversation. We got more videos out as well. Thank you to my members, all of them. Special shout out to the ones that are of the director tier. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.